Hey, what's up guys? So in this video, we're going to talk about the Amazon Done For You service, Amazon automation, our service compared to others. I mean, I'm not like going to do a comparison. I'm just going to tell you what ours entails. I know I've made videos about this before, but we now have our own logistics, our own warehousing, our own in-house employees. So no virtual assistants in Canada. In the States, we actually have a partner with warehouses and third-party logistics that helps us be able to provide a service in both the Canadian and US marketplaces for one cost. So the Done For You service, as of now, because of our own in-house operations, our own logistics and warehousing and employees, we're limited on how many clients we can take. We don't have a gigantic team of virtual assistants overseas helping us grow the businesses. Instead, we're doing over 90% of this in-house. So that means the work quality has gone way up. That means when we're using our own warehouses and logistics, we have full control over the day-to-day operations for every single client store. And because we don't have hundreds and hundreds of clients, and we would like to actually have a more minute amount of clients so we can have more of a laser focus on those client stores and thus deliver a better result for every single client store. So instead of charging $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 up front and a $10,000 annual renewal fee, and I don't know if that sounds like a high number to you or not, but that is what most people charge. We charge about half that with no annual renewal fee. It's a lifetime contract, so for the life of the business, as long as you want to do it and as long as we're still operating, which I don't plan on going anywhere for years because I love e-commerce and I love Amazon, we're going to be around a long time. So with that being said, what I want to do next is going to be a quick, short, to the point video. I'm not really going to delve too much into shit that you don't need to hear or talk about. I'm really just going to explain to you how it all works, what the costs are, and then I'm also going to show you some results. So I have my computer open, I'm actually logged in to our dashboard, and I'm going to show you some client stores and some actual client results in real time. So separate from the upfront cost of the service, which is less than 20K, we also have an option for you to 80-20 profit share. So most providers take a minimum of 30%. I know some providers will take more than 50%. That doesn't really make sense to me for you to pay for a service and have to give up more than half. So our maximum is a 60-40, and it's a really, really low cost for the 60-40 profit share option. Now the overhead, how much running costs will you need? So separate from working capital for products, right? Because to make money on Amazon, you need to spend money on products. So if we have $30,000 worth of inventory in Amazon over the period of 6 or 7 months, right? So you've spent about 25 or 30K on products, and the store is doing $10,000, $15,000 a month revenue, right? With that turnover. So if you have 25 to 30K invested in the store, you should be able to do at least $10,000 monthly revenue. If you have $50,000 to $60,000 working capital, you should be able to do at least $20,000 monthly revenue month over month by supporting that business with 50 to 60K working cap. So that's another thing with Amazon, is you need to be okay with your working capital being tied up in the business. Kind of like investing in stocks or cryptocurrencies. You don't just invest your money and then get it all back. And when H bar goes from 20 cents to 50 cents, if you don't have any money in it, you're not going to make any of those money on those gains, right? You need to have money in the business. So it's better to look at it as a term of an investment more so than a business. Even though it is a business, the Amazon business model requires you to be okay with working capital being tied up. With that being said, you don't just want to use high interest rate credit cards only. You want to have maybe a line of credit, or maybe use, in Canada, there's a lot of options. In the States, I know there's even more for people to get zero interest credit cards with like a 12 or an 18-month buffer. So you apply for a brand new credit card with a $20,000 limit, for example, even like a Capital One, where even if you don't have great credit or a great income, you can still get a credit card from places like credit unions, Capital One, companies like that. And they have promotional first 12 to 18 months, no interest. So you can tie up all that capital knowing you're not going to pay any interest. For me, I use a mixture of all the above. I use my own cash, I use line of credit, and I also use credit cards. Now my credit cards, I don't have any credit cards with zero interest. They're all like 20%. But for me to do, $10,000 or $15,000 a month profit, and for me to be paying $400 a month in credit card interest, to me, that's cost of doing business. Right? So in the beginning, if you're saying, well, I only have 20K to start with, and if I can only do like $7,000 to $10,000 a month in revenue, so like $1,000 or $1,500 a month profit, but I'm going to be paying interest on the 20K on the card. Well, interest on 20K is going to be about 1.5% a month on a credit card. So that's going to be like $250 a month for you to do over $1,000 profit. So cost of doing business. After 6 to 12 months, You can get lines of credit. The more you use that card, the more increases you can get. So by the time you're using 40 or 50K in working cap, and if you are paying the highest rate of interest, and that's to be conservative, right? Because there's a lot of way smarter options out there, like some of them that I mentioned before, lower interest or no interest, and also having some cash. So you need to understand having working capital tied up in the business is a requirement to sell on Amazon. But over time, the more funds you can add to the business, the more lines of credit you can add, the more of your own cash you can add, the increases you can get on your cards, the lower interest you have, the more money you can make at an extremely low cost. And it's a really, really good business model. And this is what a lot of billionaires like Robert Kiyosaki and all these other guys talk about, using debt to make money with. So they're more so talking about real estate by borrowing money from the bank to pay for a real estate investment, and then you would get a passive income, right? Because if you're doing rental income, you're making money off that rental income, and you also have an appreciating asset, because to date, real estate normally only appreciates, even in bad times. If you give it 5 to 10 years, a decent property in a decent area that you've purchased will eventually be worth more, especially if you keep up to date with renovations and stuff like that. So it's a dual investment, but you're actually taking on debt to be able to make that money. So instead of having to use your own money, you can use debt to make money. That's how I started my first Amazon business. I went from a $500 credit card, and about a year and a half later from the bank of CIBC, I went from a $500 credit card to $80,000 in credit. So I went from doing a couple $100s a month on Amazon to $80, $90, $100,000 a month in revenue with that $80,000 in credit and a tiny bit of my own cash. Now, obviously paying the credit card interest, but if you're doing $15,000 a month profit, let's say it's the second year, you're doing $10,000 to $15,000 a month profit, and your credit card interest is $500, $600, $700. Is it worth it for you to pay $700 in interest to make $15,000 a month? It's a no-brainer, right? Cost of doing business. But in the beginning, when you're looking at it on a smaller scale, a lot of people have problems understanding, well, if I'm going to be paying $100 in credit card interest to only make $500 a month, is that really worth it? Well, what about if you wait 2 years and you add another zero onto your income by not giving up and having patience, which is the number one factor in growing any business, not just an Amazon business. You need to have patience. It takes time to build the business. Expecting massive results in the first few months or the first 6 months, no matter what you see on social media or when you see other automation service providers saying, I will get you to $100,000 a month in the first 6 months guaranteed with 30% profit margins. It's bullshit. And if it's true, what they're doing is taking products from other clients' stores and loading them all into your store, and it's probably via drop shipping from retailers, which will get you deactivated. So we've switched all our clients, even clients we were doing drop shipping for in the past, we have switched them all to Amazon FBA and FBM by using third-party logistics to ship products out and just sending 99% of the products directly to FBA. So with that being said, you need to have a realistic and a very knowledgeable understanding of how the process actually works, and that's the point of this video. So step 2 is to show you some actual results, so let's get to that. So I'm gonna grab my phone. Don't mind me taking my phone down. If you get a little zoom in on my ugly face, forgive me, but here we go. Over to my computer. Now, without exposing client store names, because we obviously don't want you to see the client store's names due to privacy reasons, but if I just go up here, let's go. So this is a brand new client, and this client actually specifically has a very limited amount of working capital. So if you're that kind of person that only has, 10, 20, 30K, then these are some of the results, obviously not to expect, it's not guaranteed, but this is like a realistic understanding of how it could be for you for your first year. So this was a client that only had like 15 or 20K working cap for us to work with throughout the first year. So if I just did January to December, and January to December, the chart is loading, so as you can see, we're doing this live. January to December revenue, so the year of 2021 was $80,000 revenue. Now our margins are normally 15 to 25%. So 15 to 25% margin on that means they made anywhere from $12,000 to $18,000 roughly in their first year with limited capital. This is with 1, having patience, 2, having that limited working capital, but understanding and allowing us to do our job and do our best at using that working capital as intelligently as possible, right? The main strategy for us is we have a massive criteria of the checklist that we go through before we send any product into any client store, right? So obviously sales rank is a factor, competition, be it competitive prime or non-competitive prime. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it doesn't matter because we do all the work for you. But there's a lot of factors into determining whether a product is going to do well for the store or not. But the number one thing we do for clients with limited working capital is we don't go spending all their working capital on a handful of products. We don't go spending all their working capital on by buying large orders in the beginning, like $5,000, $10,000 for a single product. What we'll do is send in 10, 20, 30 units of a product. No matter how good the sales rank is, no matter how little amount of competition there is, even if Amazon is almost never on the listing, which is even better for us, no matter how many good factors and good check marks we can check off, we will still try to send in a lower quantity. So like obviously less than 100, less than 2, less than 300 units to make sure that product can be proven first and will sell for us specifically before we send more larger orders in. So that's how we work with clients with less working capital. So it is still doable. And that is an idea of what you could expect having limited working capital to do in the first year. So if the cost of the investment is $15K, well, this client made $15,000 in the first year with limited working cap, right? So what some people have a hard time understanding is it's the first 5 months or the first 4 months or the first 6 months. Why am I not doing, $10 or $20 or $30,000 a month revenue? Well, if you only have $20,000 working capital, you're not going to be able to get to $30,000 a month in revenue anyways. You need to add more working capital over time. Number two is it takes time to build the business. We cannot get to, $80,000 in revenue in like a month in the first 3 months or the first 6 months. Even if you have more working capital, we still need to build the business by sending in products, testing products, scaling the store. It takes time to build an Amazon business, right? If you want to get rich quick scheme, go invest in some meme coins, right? This is a legitimate business that years from now will be yielding you massive fruits. So let me take a look at another store. All right, so we're just going to look at another store here, and I will show you some more results from stores that have a little bit more working capital on hand. So let me just choose another store really quick. How about where the store is at? So I'm going to click another store, open, and we're going to do a live viewing of the sales for another store as well. Okay, so here's another client. This client has more working capital than the last client store we just looked at. So I'm going to go reports, and if you can see that, business reports. So we'll go down here, and what we'll do is do the same thing. So we're going to go custom, we're going to go last year. So one full 12-month period. So this is a client that started with us a little over a year ago, and I think they had about $40,000 working capital. So if we come here, grab the beginning of January and go to the end of the year 2021, apply. So this client, see what their sales are. So in 2021, they did $177,000 in revenue. And if margins are 15 to 25%, you can do the math, right? So they made at least $20,000 to $30,000 in profit last year in their first year selling on Amazon by having a little bit more working capital. Now, again, these are not results you can expect in the first 6 months. It's not something you should expect in the first 3 months. It's a long-term business model that takes time to build, but as you can see, the longer you do it and the more patience you have, the more money you can make. Let me bust open another store for you guys, right? 1 or 2 stores, maybe you want to see a little bit more, so let's open up another one. So here's another store I'm about to open up. So I'm going to go up here to business reports. We'll go down here and we will look at last year again. So that's today. $700 in sales today so far, and it's like 1 p.m. So that's a good indicator. This client's actually been with us for more than a year, I think around the 2-year mark since 2020. So let's just go look at their last year for 2021 again, beginning of the year to the end of the year 2021. So this client, after about 2 years, let's see what their sales are for 2021. My internet's being pretty slow, but just bear with me here for a sec, guys. Okay. So in 2021, this store from January to December 2021, $630K revenue, margins of 15 to 25%. On average, that means they made at least $100 to $120,000 profit last year. Right? So this is just to give you guys an idea. So building an Amazon business obviously takes time. You need to have working capital is obviously a given. You need to be able to have patience as we grow the store. Again, really big results do not happen in a short period of time. We're not investing in meme coins here. We are building a legitimate business. So if by the second year we can get your store to $40 or $50 or $60,000 a month revenue like this store, we actually have stores where we've scaled them to, when we actually inquire about the service and we talk about it, We can scale stores bigger than that, but that is to give you an idea of what's possible selling on Amazon. There isn't really a ceiling in terms of how big can we grow the store. The only ceiling is how long is it going to take, so we need to have patience, and how much working capital can we add to the business over time and accumulate. As you know, I started with a $500 credit card, and a year and a half later, my bank had given me $80,000 in credit. This is with, I was like 24, 25 years old. I'm 32 now, turning 33. I had a part-time job. I did not have credit history. I had a $500 student card that I had to do a GIC. So I had to give the bank $500 for them to even give me a $500 credit card, right? So if you're a person that has a bit of cash, you have a line of credit, or you know you can get one, you can get a larger credit card, or you already have one, you're already in a pretty good position to build an Amazon business, right? And if it only took me 18 months to go from 500 and no credit to almost $100,000 in working capital, I'm pretty sure you can do the same. And this is with no experience. I had no idea what I was doing 8 years ago. Now I know what I'm doing. Another thing is, like I said, it takes time to build a business, so you have to understand that, and you have to be willing to wait to be able to see profits and for the business to start doing well. Another thing is, people ask me, well, if I have limited working capital and bad credit, how am I supposed to, let's say if we're doing drop shipping on these stores, which we're not. So what's the risk of using debt to build an Amazon business? What's the risk of using lines of credit and credit card to build the business? Is that not extremely risky? Well, if you were drop shipping from retail suppliers, yeah, it might be risky, because if you get your store temporarily deactivated and it takes you 3 months or 5 months to get the store back, all the money you had from before is going to be tied up in Amazon. To give you an idea, the risk of getting deactivated when selling via Amazon FBA, it's not 0, but it's like 0.1%. So the risk goes way, 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 way down, because you're doing what Amazon likes. You're doing what Amazon wants you to do, which is to sell via Amazon FBA. We did actually have a client recently get temporarily deactivated while selling Amazon FBA, and it took them like less than 30 days to get the store back. So this goes to show that if you even ever do get temporarily deactivated on Amazon when doing Amazon FBA, what Amazon likes you to do, it's a lot easier to get the store back, and it can be done a lot faster. So with that being said, any questions you guys have, please drop them below. Any questions beyond that, you can actually just send me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Peace out.